What's up, guys? Finally finished the flooring, and I have a few tips at the end of the video. So if you stay tuned, you're planning to do the flooring or wash them. Just a few things I've learned about doing flooring, and hit the like button, share the video if you find it helpful. Leave a comment. Alright, so I had to kind of pause on the flooring because I had to basically take this whole cloth. Ask yourself if you have all the tools necessary. These are all the tools I use to install the floor. Nothing else. So we have the multi-tool. We have a tape measure, knife, tape, and a vinyl floor cutter. Pick this up at Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, but I think it was like about $140. Really easy to use. Just line it up. Light pressure. If you have to do a lot of a lot of your cuts are going to be late at night, or in the morning when everyone's sleeping. You could do most of all your cuts with this thing here. Makes no noise. You know, if you gotta rip something, I guess you start it. This takes a little longer. I could probably do this on my table saw really quick, but you know, the table saw's all the way downstairs. So you would press it a little bit. You get the idea. You'll be able to. You could do your notches, and this vinyl floor cutter here is really light. Like I picked this up with one hand, spin it around, and it has little rubber feet that keep it from like sliding around. So if you're doing a lot of flooring in your house, I recommend picking up something like this. I think they sell cheaper ones, but something like this. I like this one because you know you can do U-cuts, or I think most of them you could only go straight and like this, but you know, has its limitations. You can't make every cut, but you could do most of them here. So if you're doing a lot of flooring, consider if you cut it on the miter saw, you just get a whole bunch of this stuff, like a lot, you know, and it'll stick to your body, but you're left with a really nice clean cut. There's a video of me cutting this jam out with this, and you want to do this before you start. You know, sometimes they'll just notch around the casing, and you really don't want to do that. You want to grab some scrap material of your underlayment and flooring. Grab a sharp multi-tool, new blade, and cut the whole casing and the jam out with the multi-tool, and then your flooring will look perfect. So you got to do the same thing around this side. I'll try to demonstrate it. You want to do that first before installing the floor. So yeah, that's tip number one. So make sure you have the right tools to get the job done, and so that it looks good. Next thing is measure your room before you start, and know whether it's square or not. And if your room isn't square, you know, make up the difference, split the difference between the two walls, and so if it might be a half an inch, quarter of an inch, or an inch even, just split the difference up, and make sure that first starter row, which was this one for me, make sure it's square with the room, and that way when you reach this side, it'll be nice and square. Now I know for a fact personally that this room is really bad. It's not square at all. So I decided to start here and work my way over this way. Try to keep it square as possible, but you know, I chose this wall because you're not gonna see it here. There's a radiator, it's gonna get covered. So all you have is this little section and that section there. So choose your layout, you know where you have to start, before you begin. Choose a starting point, make sure that is square with your room. And if your room is really bad, it's not square, choose a wall that is not in sight when you walk into the room. In this case, you walk in from there, you'll be able to see it. If there's any unevenness in the room. So I chose that wall. And so yeah, choose and know your layout before you start. The next thing is closets and anything that may be on the floor that for example, I had to take all this closet apart because part of it was sitting on the floor, and it's extra work doing it. But the last thing you want is the last thing you want is to have your flooring go up against it and around it, because you didn't want to take it out. If you ever decide to change this closet, you're gonna have a piece of flooring missing. So the next thing, I guess, would be remove anything that like permanent. Get it out and get your flooring under there. In the long run, it will be better. The next thing you want to consider when you're laying out your flooring is, you might have to transition to another room. Like in this case, my starter row began here, and to continue on to this room, I had to work backwards as far as the layout. I'll try to demonstrate it here. So you're supposed to install the flooring like this. Drop it in there, box. But once you do it from here, you just have to work backwards like that. Drop it in. And the other thing that you have to do to make this work, so this piece is going to be under the door, under the casing and the jamb. So to get this piece to lock in there, you're gonna have to remove a portion of the locking material here, like that much maybe, because this piece is gonna slide under the casing and the jamb, and you won't be able to lift this up to get it to lock under there. It's just not gonna work. So you have to remove just a little bit of that material right here, and then the same thing for over here. So if this piece is tucked under this joint, a little lip there, so you just grab a knife. Like that. And then when that piece comes in, because you could flex the middle out, the middle of the board. You could lift that up. It's just underneath, the part that's underneath the casing, you can't lift up. So that will allow you to lock it in place, you just, like I said, you have to remove a little bit of that lip, that locking lip right there off, and you should be able to bring those pieces together. I used a little bit of glue since I removed some of the you can actually see some of the glue coming out right there. I just noticed that. You can't lift this piece up, so you have to remove a little bit of the locking material. For the middle, you can flex this a little and it'll still go, so you don't have to remove the material in the middle of the plank. And I specifically, this goes back to layout and prep, visualizing how your floor is gonna go, but I specifically wanted a full piece here with no joints. So plan ahead before you start. Lay your boards out so that you're not left with joints in the middle of an entrance, high traffic entrance. The other thing is, the other tip I would say is, for this, if you're installing this type of material, don't use the tapping block, don't use a hammer. All you need is your hands. It's really easy to lock into place. If you use a tapping block, there's not much material on there, and you're gonna damage the edges. This is all I used right here. That is it. Glue, tape, cutter, multi-tool, tape, and knife. So if you're gonna do flooring yourself, which I think it's a great idea, you're gonna save a lot of money in this flooring. Like I say, it's really easy to install, and I don't know. I hope maybe these tips, suggestions, maybe will help you out in your next project. I always like to install the big room first, and then work my way into the closets. So my starter row finished right here, and I just work my way back into the closets. I did the same thing. Well, over here it's a little different, but the flooring just goes into the closet. But any little closets like this, you could just work into them. So yeah, consider those few things before starting and doing tile. Measure, make sure you have the right tools, plan your layout ahead of time, and know where your joints are going to be, and make sure you cut all your casing, remove baseboard. I just recommend removing baseboard, it's easier. Yeah, those tips will help you install flooring. This you probably get this whole room done in a day, I think, without any experience. But I guess it depends on what kind of tools you're using, your skill sets. But yeah, I hope this video helps, and if it does, leave a comment, share.